So many people have been through these doors: presidents, royalty, major CEOs and executives.
The mansion no one wanted. For 10 years, a sprawling estate just north of Chicago has stood empty, its gates locked and grounds eerily quiet. From the outside, the mansion appears timeless, a towering structure of glass and stone, surrounded by perfectly manicured lawns that stretch for acres. At its heart, the number 23 is etched into the iron gates, a symbol of greatness, of Michael Jordan, the man who once ruled the world of basketball. But as time passes, the house begins to feel more like a relic of another era, a forgotten trophy of unimaginable success. It should have sold within weeks. It should have been a trophy to someone else, someone with wealth to match Jordan's. And yet, despite a parade of prospective buyers, slashed prices, and even auctions, the house remains unsold. The whispers started early, barely louder than a breeze. Rumors at first about why no one could bring themselves to purchase the legendary property. But the deeper you looked, the stranger things became. What if this house, once a home to the greatest of all time, is now cursed, the last shot? It was never just a house. It was Michael Jordan's sanctuary, a place where he could retreat from the world, far away from the roar of stadiums and the blinding lights of the press. Here, in Highland Park, surrounded by thick woods and guarded by high walls, the greatest basketball player in history could be something other than a legend. Jordan had moved in during the height of his career in the early 1990s. The house, even then, was a marvel. 56,000 square feet of absolute luxury. He added personal touches: a full-size basketball court with the number 23 etched into the floorboards, an infinity pool, and even a cigar room where he could escape into the thick smoke of victory. It wasn't just a house. It was a monument to everything he had achieved. For years, it hummed with life. Teammates came to shoot hoops, business partners attended parties, and the walls echoed with laughter, strategy, and endless ambition. But as Jordan's career shifted, so did the energy of the mansion. When he retired, truly retired this time, it was as though the house itself sighed. The staff was reduced, the parties became fewer, and eventually, it was just Michael and his memories. The mansion, once alive with the buzz of excitement and possibility, grew still. That's when the first odd thing happened: the unseen shadows. It was small at first, barely noticeable to a man who had spent a career focused on more pressing matters. But Jordan had always trusted his instincts, and something felt off. There were the noises, faint but persistent, like whispers traveling through the air ducts. He dismissed them as nothing, chalking them up to the house settling or a squirrel in the attic. But then there was the sense of being watched, even when he was alone. A former teammate who visited once told a strange story. They had been shooting around on the court when, out of nowhere, he felt something cold rush past him. When he turned, he saw no one, but the basketball was rolling toward him as if someone had deliberately nudged it. He laughed it off, assuming it was his imagination, but he never returned to the mansion after that day. Jordan had dismissed the incident too. His mind was on bigger things, business ventures, and staying in shape. But the uneasy feeling lingered, a presence in the house that he couldn't shake. Over time, he spent less and less time there, until eventually the mansion was empty more often than it was occupied. When the decision was made to sell, it seemed simple enough. The house was worth millions, and Jordan's name alone should have made it irresistible. But that's when the real mystery began. The visitors. The first prospective buyer came in 2012, a billionaire tech mogul from Silicon Valley. He was used to acquiring luxury properties like trophies. The estate had everything he wanted: space, exclusivity, and the legendary status of its previous owner. He was ready to make an offer before even stepping foot inside. But then he walked through the doors. There's no public record of what happened during that first viewing, but the whispers started immediately after. He left quickly, without explanation, and never made an offer. His silence was louder than words. After that, there was a string of interested buyers, celebrities, business tycoons, athletes, but none could bring themselves to close the deal. Something about the house seemed to unsettle them. One real estate agent, who spoke under condition of anonymity, shared her experience with the mansion. She had been giving a tour to a high-profile buyer when they heard a noise, like the sound of someone dribbling a basketball. The court was empty, of course, and when they went to investigate, there was nothing there. The buyer left immediately, and the agent never returned to the property. It wasn't just noises, either. Some reported seeing strange shadows out of the corner of their eyes. Others claimed the temperature would drop suddenly in certain rooms, but the most common experience was an overwhelming sense of unease, as though the house itself didn't want to let go of its past. The auction. In a bid to finally sell the house, Jordan put it up for auction in 2013. It was a bold move. After all, who wouldn't want to own a piece of history? The bidding was expected to be fierce, with buyers flying in from all over the world. But something strange happened at the auction. Despite the prestige, despite the hype, there was no bidding war. In fact, there were barely any bids at all. The few who showed interest backed out, and the mansion remained unsold. The auctioneer, a man who had seen properties of all kinds change hands, later described it as one of the most bizarre experiences of his career. It was as though the house itself had rejected every offer. After that, the mansion seemed to fall off the radar. There were no more publicized efforts to sell it, and it remained empty, its price slowly dropping with each passing year. By 2020, it was listed at less than half its original asking price. Yet still, no one would buy it. The legacy of the number 23. Some say the house is cursed, a place where too much success was concentrated in one spot. Others believe it's haunted by the spirit of competition, that the drive that fueled Jordan's career left an imprint so strong that no one else can live there without feeling its pressure. But the strangest theory of all comes from a former staff member who worked at the mansion during Jordan's final years there. He claims that Jordan once confided in him about a recurring dream he had while living in the house. In the dream, he was back on the court, playing in the NBA Finals. But no matter how many points he scored, no matter how perfectly he played, the game would never end. The clock would reset, the score would change, and he would be forced to play on, endlessly, trapped in an eternal competition. It was just a dream, of course, but to the staff member, it always seemed like more. He wondered if the house itself had become a part of Jordan's legend, trapped in a moment of time, unable to move forward or let go. The waiting game. Today, the mansion still stands, its gates locked and its windows dark. From the outside, it looks like any other luxury estate, a place waiting for its next owner. But those who have been inside know better. There's something there, something that keeps the house from moving on. Maybe one day, someone will buy it. Maybe it will become a home again, full of life and energy, the way it was when Jordan lived there. But for now, it remains in limbo, a monument to a man who defined greatness, and a mystery that no one seems eager to solve. The mansion waits.